All right, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. It's my honor and privilege to have with us one of the most famous mohelim, at least in Chabad, Rabbi eliyohu shain. Rabbi eliyohu shain, I don't know if you know, but in Minnesota, there was a mohel here that anybody, he passed away about 10 years ago, but anybody who was Jewish for the last 50 years, Shepsel Roberts. You ever heard of Shepsel Roberts?
Yes, I heard.
He was a emistic Yid, and a young Gizl type of Yid, Ben Torah, but he was the mohel. If anybody was over here, anybody Yiddish went through Shepsel Roberts. Shepsel Roberts is an iconic name here in Minnesota. And in New York, and I could say all over the world, Rabbi Shain is one of the famous mohelim. So I figured we'll take advantage. Rabbi Shain, Baruch Hashem, came here to Minnesota for a bris milah, for a mazel tov. He spent Shabbos here, which actually I just saw in Achrayim. Is it really? Let's start with this question. I figured I will have take advantage and have a 10-minute discussion, Rabbi Shain. Rabbi Shain, I don't want to get you with a controversial shaila, but is it really your responsibility, or say this for every mohel who does this as a mitzvah, to have to leave his family to go? What is your suggestion to the young mohelim? Do they have to take that in mind that's coming outside, that if somebody calls them from Hudson Platz, it's their chiyuv to leave? Is it their chiyuv?
It's not necessarily the chiyuv, because the chiyuv is on the father. And the father let him travel with the child to the mohel. So it's lav dafka that the mohel has a chiyuv that he has to travel.
So that's today's days. How about many years ago when traveling was a sakana for the child?
Well, then
it's a bezdin issue.
Well, then the bezdin has. So if the father can't take care of it, then the bezdin has to arrange some way to get a mohel or to whatever to do. But
is it correct to say what the Rambam lists off, the Gemara lists off, a Yid has to live in a community that has certain things? I think the Rambam lists off 10 things. One of them is a roife. A roife is a practical thing. Would it be honest to say that part of that roife is a Yid that has to live in a community, at least back then, where there was a mohel as part of the roife? Because
yes. In those days, it was that when it says a roife, it says also a makis dam or something.
Yeah, makis dam.
Makis dam. So that's the ones that were makis dam. They used to do the brisson too, because that's the same thing. A roife was really for infections or different things, medicines. But the makis dam, he used to do this too.
So a young mohel training now should not be worried that he'll have an obligation to leave his family for a 3-day yom tov. It's a mitzvah. Obviously, it's a mitzvah.
It's definitely a mitzvah, and it's a very big burden on the family to let the family home. You know, they have no father. There's no father there. It's not the same environment.
Right.
But that's why I don't accept it too often. If I have to go away for a Shabbos or Yom Tov, I don't accept it when it's very often one Shabbos after the other, because I you have to keep your family. And I tell them if they want, they can come to me. I have a big house, and they could stay by me. And people do it sometimes. They have a shvuas bris. They came with the whole family, with the shver, with the shviga, with everyone.
Wow.
And they filled up the house, and they were here for 2-3 days by me. And that's it.
I'm not going to say your address
Right.
for Crown Heights. Okay, so let me hear a Gash Mystic experience. Where's the furthest you've gone, being in the New York mohel, New York Rov? In the 50 years experience, where have you gone? How far?
I went to Russia. I went to South America, to Alaska.
Why would they need one? Besides your expertise, obviously, there's the famous story that Tzemach Tzedek said that you always look for the most expert mumcha. Okay?
Right.
So we all know the Rabbi Shain is the mumcha. But is there any other reason why these places in there and Idachas would call you? They don't have the living?
Well, I never ask them why they call me. It's not comfortable to even ask them, why did you call me? Why didn't you call someone else? But I assume that either they found out and they want to have a top mohel that they could use,
right?
Or maybe they tried different mohelim and not everyone wants to go. Most mohelim don't want to travel away. If it's like within an hour or two, they will go. But to go make a whole trip, because a lot of mohelim, they don't have parnosa from this itself, so he can't leave his job to go and travel. By me, this is my only parnosa. So I have to just
Do what you
accept what I could.
Okay, so now, could you please tell us some of the, obviously most of the people listening to this are not mohelim. What interesting shilas that came up during your 50 years of experience that you could share with us, some not typical, not typical thing. Obviously a mohel has to do the typical mila priya. Any interesting Shabbos shilas, Yom Tov shilas, Yom Kippur shilas, anything comes to mind?
Let me think about something.
Something has to be over the years.
Well, I mean, adults, this is also like the Russians that came from Russia.
Yeah.
This is where I got a lot of experience. Then this is you're talking in the late 70s and the 80s. So a lot of Yidden, they didn't have a bris in Russia. They didn't have a mohel. There was no one to make it, and they came here. They needed a bris.
Right.
So that's where I got really a lot of experience. We used to do it in the beginning. We used to do it in the hospitals, and
why would a hospital let a rabbi? They'd have so many insurance issues. I mean, I'm asking a stupid question.
Right? No, that's a good question. So they it wasn't so simple to get into the hospital. You had to go through different paperwork and different things.
But once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, and then like let's say when I first started. So the mohel, I mean the doctor, the surgeon, he used to tell me, well, you can't cut like this. You have to this way. He's going to show me how to cut. I said, listen,
I'm the rabbi.
I'm the rabbi. They came for me. We just need your assistance because we need a hospital, an environment to do it. But I'm the rov on this, and I have to say how it goes. He says, no, you cut. And then if it's no good, you'll do. I said, no, we're not going to do it twice. It's going to be once the right way.
And the doctors goyim allow that goyim
well,
or
they had freie Yidden that were doctors.
Yeah.
We used to use mostly freie Yidden.
Yeah.
And it started in the beginning. It was a lot of fights and screaming, and all the nurses from the whole operating rooms, they came, what's going on here? They never heard so much noise in the operating room.
Yeah.
Because operating room, the patient is sleeping, the doctor's work, it's quiet.
Yeah.
But here with the shrieking and people came in.
It's not the patient, it's
the doctor and the nurses, they said, what do you know about that? This is a big doctor. He knows what he's doing. I said, listen, I'm the rabbi here, and they came for me. They didn't come for you.
Oy vey.
And that's it. And there was it took a long time.
Stolzkeit, Goin Yaakov.
And then I was like, I was already getting upset because every day to fight with the doctors, with this one today, with this doctor, that doctor, Chinese doctor, with everyone. So I decided maybe I should give it up. It's too much. Who needs this whole headache? They didn't even pay me for it.
Right.
It was just a service.
Right.
So I wrote to the Rebbe.
Really? Yeah.
And the Rebbe said I should continue, and everything is going to straighten out. I shouldn't.
This is what years?
This is in the late 70s.
Wow. Right.
He said continue, and he said don't back out. And
what happened since then?
And then on the end, they said that now they see that Taka the way I told them that's the way it should be done, the right way. But they didn't. Originally not every time was the same doctor. So with everyone I had a fight.
So let me ask you a halachic shaila. I mean, we have here a pediatrician in town, a yid, not a frum yid yet, but he calls himself also a mohel for the community. So I'm sure it's something you know over much better than me. I'm sure the non-religious Jews yet, who are not yet religious, when they're born, they have to check off. I think. Would you like would they like the doctor to do the circumcision in the hospital before the baby leaves? Is that right? They allow that.
Yes. Now.
So I'm asking you halachically, it's not a religious mohel. Halachically, it's before 8 days. I think they already do it before they let the kid home.
Right.
So what's the halachic status of this?
The halachic status is like this: that first of all, if they make it before the 8th day, you're not yotze the mitzvah. So if they did cut the right way and everything is the right way, then you have to make hatofas dam.
Okay.
If they didn't, then you have to redo it. And
we're not going to go through a visual now.
Right. But there's a lot of times, and then it becomes a big nisoy and a big challenge. The what do you mean? The baby I'm going to take and redo, or it's a young guy or an older guy, to redo. He had already a bris. It's a whole.
But halachically, if a doctor in the hospital did it, you have to make sure it was done fine, first of all. And if it was done not on the 8th day, so if it was done fine, luckily, if it was done fine, and he did it b'diavad on the 8th day, that's how, because maybe he had it would pass?
And was a doctor Shemer Torah mitzvahs?
No.
No, then you have to make Hatovas Dam. Right.
Okay.
But if it was a Shemer Torah mitzvahs, then...
Okay, who's going to...
But sometimes there are Frume doctors, especially now. There are a lot of Frume doctors in the hospitals.
That's pediatricians?
And
what are they?
Pediatricians or whatever. They work in the surgery room. And they have, like, let's say a woman had a Syrian.
Yeah.
So sometimes she has to be 2 weeks in the hospital.
So they know that.
So usually the baby today, I mean years ago, like you're talking in the 70s or in the 60s, the 70s, the babies were in the hospital. The mother and the baby were in the hospital at least for 8 or 10 days.
Really, every baby.
Every baby, yeah. And then because of insurance and different things, they started cutting it down.
2 days. 2 days they're out.
Now it's a day and a half or 2 days they're out. But then it was taka big shiloh. There was a lot of these things, and it was going on in the hospital. So if he was a Shemer Torah mitzvah doctor and he did it after the 8th day, that's good. But
you don't need a toughest numbers.
But if it wasn't a Shemer Torah mitzvah, then or was a goy or whatever, then you have to at least have toughest dam, and you have to check every one if it was done the proper way.
I just want to ask you one controversial shaila. See how much you want to go in. It's up to you. What's going on with the humol and tumul? With the metzitza b'peh. I mean, not to be too graphic. Is it a must? I mean, I know the Sfarim say you must do it that way. You can't be mishana. What aren't there some countries that don't allow it already?
Well,
and Mila b'chlal, isn't Holland? What do I hear about Holland? Are there some countries that are against Mila?
That I don't know. I know that the Russians were against Mila. I mean, the war. Yeah, now it's different. Now the things changed. But this is going on. I mean, a long time. It's mainly what they say that he got herpes or whatever.
The child from the mohel.
So yeah. So first of all, it's lav dafka that he got it from the mohel, because I'm doing it already for almost 50 years.
Maybe more.
And I do every time a tzitza b'peh. If it's a Shemer Torah mitzvah. I mean, sometimes you go to a house where you see that the hefker, too many women and boys, it's just, then you don't know what's going on there, so then I use a tube. Like this, regular, if it's a settled house.
So who's the movement behind the secular people, the
secular people, or the modern Orthodox, whatever, they want to show that we are updated. They don't understand who made the human being. Right. It's Hashem created us, and He knew that He's making a bris. So He made it in a way that nothing happens. So it could happen that a mohel didn't rinse his mouth before with a solution to make his mouth sterile. But it's a very, very far-fetched thing. Every mohel that I know makes sure to clean his hands and wash his mouth, rinse out his mouth. So it's basically they only take it, like, let's say a baby got herpes. How about how many babies get herpes that didn't have a mohel doing it? They don't take that in account. They're only trying to find one in 20,000. They found the guy and it's because of the mohel. How do you know? Because of maybe the nurse that was taking care of the baby. Maybe she didn't wash her hands. Maybe some other things.
So how can't you quiet them down if you're saying good kindness?
But I think that there's nothing to talk to them, because they're just
it's going to die out by itself.
Yeah, just like it's not the first time. It's every few years it comes up, this thing, and you just let it die out. You don't answer them, and they'll forget about it.
Isn't there a sefer, a mohel? I think it's a mohel. One of the Baba Dayanim wrote a Metzitza B'Peh. I have it here somewhere.
Yeah.
A sefer, only a Metzitza B'Peh. I know he has a comment from the Baba Rebbe of Shleimer. Anyways, I'm just going to. Rabbi Shain has a flight early morning, and Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter gave him the schus. Tomorrow he has 2 brissen in New York. I just want to be Messiah. Acrobatic thing that I can't figure out. I was told that Rabbi Kiva Eger was a mohel, and I told Rabbi Kiva Eger was a mohel. I'm sorry, the Minchas Elazar. The Minchas Elazar. I was told later. I think Rabbi Kiva Eger also, but the Minchas Elazar was a mohel, and not only was a mohel, he used to be the sandik and the mohel together.
Yes.
Is that an acrobat thing that you do?
I did my children, but like this, usually they wanna honor the grandfather, this or that. My own children, I did both. The sandik and
is it difficult? I mean it's maktik. The school of maktik Torah, basic. That you could be even a mohel's maktik Torah. I'm saying,
right.
Is that something?
Well, it's something that it's a good scholar to have. Not every time you get it, and no one's gonna honor me to be a sandik. So if that's the only opportunity I have, so I used it for my own children.
Okay. I would like to give Rabbi Shain, first of all, Grace and Yashikoyach, and a lot of brachas and atzlacha. They should be mamshich and avodas hakodesh. He started when it wasn't popular back then, and Baruch Hashem, he's going strong. Koyitim v'kayosef. They should have bracha v'atzlacha and all.
Now I want to just one thing. I want to just put into the mind, like, what is the metzitza? Why do they? What's the inyan of metzitza?
Yeah.
Metzitza means to suck the blood out, but the to make a bris on a baby is like making the first mitzvah on a baby. He's involved. He becomes
Yiddish.
a Yiddish, they say.
Yeah.
But then that's only one part of the body. But what about the rest of his body?
Yeah.
So the
drawing
veins,
the blood,
the veins draw the blood and goes through the whole system. So when you make a metzitza b'peh, you're drawing from that mitzvah. You're drawing the blood, even it's a little blood. It's not a gallon, just a few drops. But those drops connect from the head to the toe, and that's the way you get the whole body into this mitzvah.
Oh.
So that's why it's a great thing. And it's a very important part of the bris.
Shikoyach again, bracha v'atzlacha.